Gravity Falls. I was impersonating Bill Cipher's laugh. But anyways, Gravity Falls, one of my favorite pieces of fiction of all time. One of my favorite shows, even though it is a kid's show.
I'll have you know that Ducktective has a big mystery element and a lot of humor that goes over kids' heads.
If you give me compelling characters, some really thorough world building, and mystery elements that tie the whole plot together that you get to discover at the end of the show. Ooh, I love it. So you must watch it because, yes, this episode of MWG is going to have spoilers for Gravity Falls and One Piece because I'm going to make some comparisons. And
Buy crypto, suckers!
And that is the Bill Cipher I'm talking about, the main antagonist of Gravity Falls, the Triangle Man. And I would be lying if I didn't say when I'm sometimes buying Bitcoin, I don't think of the "buy gold, buy" quote from that Triangle Man. And Gravity Falls is a show I grew up on. I was around 10 years old when it first came out, and I was around 14 years old when it came to its conclusion. And I remember like watching and like researching like YouTube videos on all these like Gravity Falls theories of like who's the author, who like what's Bill Cipher's like main motive, like how is the story going to progress, because I was just completely enthralled by it. It's like completely different than every other Disney animation I've seen before that, like Wander Over Yonder or even Star versus the Forces of Evil, or like just any other like Fish Hooks, just any other Disney Channel show that I was watching at the time. Gravity Falls beat it out completely in continuity and just character arcs and the themes and just how the story progressed over time. Like you'll see in this episode tier ranking video that season 1 is slow. It's very episodic. Like season 2, there's a whole overarching plot. I feel like every good episode in season 2 ties into the next one. Like the plot just keeps on moving in season 2, but in season 1 you're really just getting introduced to individual characters in the individual episodes. And to show the relevance of Gravity Falls in my life, Gravity Falls might be my first tattoo, the Dipper pine tree, because it's so simplistic, and it'll probably be like a very small one on my arm or my ankle or somewhere like that. And my brother always makes it fun of me how I say like, oh, Dipper's just like me. I see myself in Dipper. And I'm not gonna lie, like I kind of do at points when he does things like this.
And just one more year until high school. High school, Dipper! Where girls become women and they teach us stuff about... You know what?
Trigonometry?
That's nice, but not the plan. Do we have to remind you? Not to do medicine. The whole thing's too many. Oh man, you guys sound crazy. Look,
I began to keep a journal.
The journals!
Sorry, just got excited there about the journals.
But for one, I am nowhere near as brutally honest as Dipper.
Uncle Stan, it's not that we think you can't do it. It's just...
No, it's okay, Mabel. We don't think you can do it.
And overall, in my opinion, I kind of age up Dipper and Mabel from like 12 and 13 to kind of 14, 15. And that means I also age up Wendy and her friends from 15 to kind of like 16, 17. Even though, yes, like the whole like teenager subplot in The Inconvenieing or Dipper and Mabel versus the Future kind of doesn't work out if you age them up. But they just act like way too mature. Like especially Dipper for being 12. Like what? The things he does. And after rewatching Gravity Falls, I do kind of miss how they can't go like fully fledged out with like the adult jokes. They only have to fit them here and there.
I need something to get my mind off this.
But watching Gravity Falls has kind of inspired me to watch other animation series like Rick and Morty or The Owl House or Amphibia. And here's the list for the rankings. We got S through D, and then we have a section for skipped episodes that I just did not want to sit through on rewatching Gravity Falls with my friend. And even the worst episodes of Gravity Falls are still like pretty decent. They're still like right around average for animation, if not above average. But where Roadside Attraction lands, it is just so individualistic. It has no relevance at all to the plot at such a crucial point in the story. It's just like this random thing sticking out in what is an awesome ending to this show. So that's why Roadside Attraction, even though I didn't watch it, I've seen it previously, nothing special happens in it. And I do not like Candy revealing how she likes Dipper this late when I am all Dipper and Pacifica all the way, all day. And the next episode is Little Gift Shop of Horrors. I don't have much hate for this. It's another like anthology episode, so it has another zero relevance to the plot. So you can see how that's an important indicator for me. You know, it has to move the plot along at least a little bit, at least like a nanometer. Like, episode like this doesn't move at all. So pure enjoyment. And I don't know, I mean, it's alright collection of stories. For me, like, the clay animation just kind of bugs me out. Like, I don't know why. It just turns me off. And now we have The Love God, another skippable episode. Even though this one should probably belong in D tier, it's just Mabel is like the main focus of this episode. And I'm sorry to all those Mabel fans. Like, I prefer Dipper as like the Pines sibling. But Mabel's like definitely alright as a character. I still love her as a character. But in this one, she's doing...
Whoa! This is amazing! And ethically ambiguous!
And although there is character development for Robbie, one of my favorite characters on this rewatch, which is insane because he was probably one of my most hated characters growing up as a kid, you get to see Robbie's parents, and they appear in the finale. So if you don't watch this episode and then you just see them randomly in the finale, you're going to be like, who are his parents? And then we're moving up a tier. I recently watched this episode in the last month, and this is the Stanchurian Candidate. And this is the worst episode that Little Gideon appears in. I honestly love Little Gideon as the first antagonist in the show, and then you have the big bad villain Bill Cipher come at the end with the whole finale. So Little Gideon kind of has to carry season 1 and move the plot along himself. But this is in season 2. The Little Gideon conflict really is over. Yes, he gets his kind of redemption arc in the finale. But Little Gideon here is just mind controlling his dad. And then we have Dipper and Mabel mind controlling Stan. Is this not like Bill Cipher controlling Dipper? Like, yeah, more morally ambiguous things. But the character dynamics are just kind of meh. Does Stan really want to become a mayor? I guess. And then we have Boss Mabel, the first episode from season 1, even though I prefer season 2 over season 1. And just like the Love God, Mabel is kind of in the forefront in the A-plot. But oh my gosh, Stan on the cash wheel is carrying this episode completely. The humor with Stan is just awesome, and how he can't say please. And then when you get to the episode right before Ford comes out of the portal, Stan says please to Mabel for the first time, and that's what made Mabel trust him, because
Dipper, just back away! Please don't press that shutdown button. You gotta trust me.
And I should trust you why? After you stole radioactive waste? After you lied to us all summer? I don't even know who you are!
I wanted to say that you're gonna hear some bad things about me, and some of them are true. But trust me, everything I've worked for, everything I care about, it's all for this family.
Mabel, what if he's lying? This thing could destroy the universe. Listen to your head.
Look into my eyes, Mabel. You really think I'm a bad guy?
He's lying. Shut it down now.
Mabel, please.
10, 9.
Uncle Stan,
6, 5.
I trust you.
Mabel, are you
Stan's arc is going from not knowing how to say please, just like Pacifica not knowing the word showering, to saying please. Epic. And then we have Boys Crazy, another Mabel-centric episode. And to me, the several times each individual character, even though they're all produced in like a factory and that's supposed to be the cliche or the trope, each character gets on my nerves so much. But I'm so glad this episode reveals how just letting them into the forest, you know, they need to scavenge for food and learn how to survive, because they don't have any life skills at all. They have 0 years of education. So I'm glad the show memes the fact that, yeah, they might not survive out in the forest. Old Man McGucket plays his role very well in this episode. But in Gravity Falls, you have the overall theme of founded family, especially with Seuss and Wendy. And this episode, the Dipper and Seuss conflict and the Stan and Mabel conflict, I really do not like these interpersonal conflict here in this episode. The dinosaurs stuck in peanut brittle or maple syrup or whatever that is neat, but the overall episode conflict is too cringy for me. Oh, Stan appreciates a replica of himself because it reminds him of his brother. But other than that, this episode is kind of forgettable, very episodic. Really early on in season 1, so you really just got the base cast of characters. And although, yeah, it's Dipper and Mabel at the forefront, it's a mid episode. Not too bad, not too great. And then we move up a tier. And oh my goodness, season 2, you get 2 Seuss-centric episodes. And Blendon's Game, you get Seuss's backstory. So heartfelt. Grew up without his dad. His dad went to go get a jug of milk and never came back home. Even though he sends postcards to him, but never shows face. So you really start to get a feel for Seuss and how he grew up. And then you have Blendon coming back, and then you got the infinite slice of pizza for the time wish. What would be my time wish? It's hard to know, but an infinite slice of pizza is not a bad time wish at all. And here we have the inconvening. When Dipper goes into the ice machine and sees that creepy monster, this low-key has some horror elements. And for someone who gets really scared and skittish at any horror, anything, that type of scene scares me. And shout out to Mabel doing psychedelics and this being shown on Disney Channel. I was definitely not aware of this as a kid. And oh my gosh, I love the lammy dance. I do.
So go out.
That is an iconic moment from Dipper Pines.
So Martin, I do know the lammy dance, but I can't really do it without a lamb costume. Oh, well.
And another episode from season 1. I am very glad this instrument, this magic instrument that could shrink or enlarge things, was used in the finale. Those type of continuity elements are very important. But anyways, Lil Gideon appears here. He is great as always. And the little Gideon versus Stan conflict at the end, even though Gideon ends up losing and laughing on his way out of the mystery shack. And we have the bottomless pit. I'm not really here for like the truth teeth or Seuss's pinball story. I'm here for Dipper's voice change. That mini story is hilarious.
Nice to meet you. My name's Dipper Pines. Fine. Nice to meet you. Fine. Do I really sound like that?
Oh, here comes my favorite part.
Stop it, guys! Give me that.
I love how little Gideon is in this episode, and he is so purely, authentically himself. He's not callous or malevolent at all. He just wants to get his own chair, and so does Stan. So that's another Stan versus Gideon conflict, similar to the whole Little Dipper. And both these episodes are very closely aligned in season 1, so you get to see those two interactions back to back. And we have some more Dipper and Wendy flirting, I guess, even though they're kind of 3 years apart, and that's a little weird. I'm glad they addressed it early in season 2. But Mermondo, don't care for Mermondo, quoting Dipper. And then this line is iconic.
Hey, look! Wendy in a bikini!
Really? At night?
The Blundin introduction episode, where Dipper does physics or some type of time relativity between space and time, some type of Einstein theory at 12 years old. Well, that's only the start of the plot holes. So, time, it's a very interesting thing that gets manipulated by fiction. But here, it's done all right. It's definitely not like a non-enjoyable episode, but we have a little Pacifica moment. We get some Gravity Falls characters. Stan in the dunk tank is hilarious. And how, only a super futuristic laser gun can knock him down, and that actually happens. So, overall, a decent episode. Nothing that crazy, though. Ooh, the Gideon first introduction episode, and shout out to Mabel, who's seeking any boy crush at all. The only person she ever denies is Gideon, because she truly is looking for the right one, or maybe just anyone. We'll never know. So here's the conflict for Gideon, and he has journal number 2, a huge reveal that sets up the end of season 1. Give me 2 seconds of Stan rubbing off the glasses with deep care in his little spot on the couch, and that's all I need from this episode. Other than that, personally, this body switching humor, it's really not for me. It's sort of funny when the pig in Seuss's body falls in love with a random girl, and then they switch back, and then the girl's like, "Oh, you've changed so much," even though Seuss is now a real person and no longer a pig. Shout out to this episode bringing in, I think, the number 1 Gravity Falls meme of all time.
Whoa. This is worthless.
I do love Pacifica in this episode, and we get to see more of the gay police officer relationship grow, and Dipper and Mabel just going on a classic mystery hunt. Here's Summerween, and the conflict is real with this villain. This guy, like I said with the Inconvening, there's some minor horror elements in here, and this monster actually eats a child. And this is on Disney Channel. I don't know how Gravity Falls gets away with some things sometimes. But Summerween, a good conflict of growing up. When should you still be a kid and enjoy your youth? Or when should you grow up and go to a party where drinks might have been served? Who knows? And I love Seuss hitting the head that's on the counter. Those one-liner corny jokes, those were funny. And humor is usually a type of thing that only works once, but the camera gag in this episode, even though I knew it was coming, it was still hilarious. And Seuss taking pictures of the golfers being seriously invested in those types of pictures, that was great. Nice Seuss moment to get introduced to him a little bit more. And McGucket with his robotics. Oh, okay. The first episode of the show, and this really nails everything that Gravity Falls is and will be. The comedy's down from the start, and you have Dipper and Mabel going on a sibling adventure. And this is kind of how it goes for many more episodes from here. A great intro to the very short but sweet series. I love this episode tackling toxic masculinity for Dipper, and this is a Dipper-centric episode, And this one is super juicy with awesome quotes, whether it's this.
Disco girl, coming through, that girl is you.
Don't come in! Don't come in!
Or this.
You keep telling me that being a man means doing all these tasks and being aggro all the time? But I'm starting to think that stuff's malarkey. You heard me, malarkey. So maybe I don't have muscles or hair in certain places, and sure, when a girly pop song comes on the radio, sometimes I leave it on. Cause dang it, top 40 hits are in the top 40 for a reason. They're catchy.
And the Manitars are also compelling, likable characters. So all around, great episode arc for Dipper. I love how at the end of the show, Seuss becomes the head man at the Mystery Shack, and he ends up with a girlfriend. How awesome is this? And he interacts with this AI character who comes to life in this Five Nights at Freddy's mashup. How great is this? As someone who played D&D for the very first time in 2022, the first thing I did when I started to actually know what was going on, I went to go watch this episode before I rewatched the whole show. So I've watched this twice in the last 6 months. And this show is good. Like, the D&D mentions and jokes are right there, even though they're not insane and overpowering. But we have Ford and Dipper at their best and combining their creativity with Stan and Mabel. So it's a whole family mashup with everyone doing the adventure and the mystery arc together. This is one of those rare episodes where I almost prefer the Mabel plotline over the Dipper one. I might actually prefer it because Dipper and Ford go to the whole UFO ship answering the question, why is there so many mysterious supernatural things specifically in Gravity Falls and not elsewhere in the United States? Well, the UFO is the answer for that, answering it right before the finale. And then we have the last Mabel Corn, where Mabel has to interact with a super selfish unicorn, and she has to alter what it means to be herself and what it means to be a good person. And this episode starts off like any other Gravity Falls episode, but the ending is so well done with Rumble McSkirmish versus Robbie. I love all these fighting jokes, even though I've never played any arcade games. The way the show did it in its honesty and its parody was just perfect execution, and it was honest with the whole thing, with Robbie asking, why is he so blurry? And he's like, oh my gosh, he almost killed me, because literally he almost died. Another one of those episodes where the Mabel B plot, and shout out to the Sue C plot of him figuring out what type of keys are on his keyboard and him being the DJ. So we have Dipper cloning himself, and I already love Dipper as a character, so give me more Dippers. That's awesome. And then we have an introduction of Pacifica, and I love her character, so seeing more of her and Mabel interact, a well-executed episode, and we get some Robbie too. Okay, this episode doesn't really have any character development other than Stan finally telling the truth that he is actually using his own two eyes and is aware of the supernatural around him, even though he lies to Dipper and takes the journal for himself to activate the machine. So the season 2 vibes are starting off strong for these mystery plot threads to be finally cut and unveiled. But I just loved the karaoke at the end. Even though it's such a cliche way to end this whole zombie outbreak, I love it. I love the whole Stan, Dipper, and Mabel singing it. It's just a very cute family moment. And Seuss as a zombie, that was also amazing as well. This next episode, I love the teasing from the creators of Gravity Falls. They're playing that thing of, who's the author right in front of you. And this episode obviously hints at who the author was alive 30 years ago, making a bunker on the apocalypse, worried about the things he's creating. And then we get the shapeshifter, who is this random guy who might be the author at first, but then he's just a shapeshifter and turns out to be a really compelling one-episode villain, even though you never see the shapeshifter again. Into the Bucker, plays with their feelings, but does it well. We control the balls. We control the balls. Is this the only musical moment in Gravity Falls? And we only get like 10 seconds of it? Anyway, we also get the Big Henry moment. Oh my gosh, I have to roll this.
Minor hole. I wonder what cute, silly things are going on down there.
Stop! You can't go in there. There's been a gas leak. Anyone who goes in there will die. Oh, Big Henry. Big Henry.
I will take it.
No! Don't go, Big Henry! We need you!
Go home, Polly. Come on, Big Henry. You can do this.
And we get Pacifica learning the showering word and starting to grow her relationship and starting to redeem herself as a character. And the end of Gulf War leads more into the Northwest mansion mystery, where, for me, Pacifica gets fully redeemed as a character, going from not liked at all and kind of hated for being against Mabel to being the number one ship for Dipper. I don't know why Dipper never went after anything else. Maybe in the headcanon after the show. And speaking of Pacifica, here's that talked about episode where she's fully redeemed and the Dipper Pacifica shipping starts, and Dipper's like wood pose that was foreshadowed at the end of Into the Bunker becomes reality here. So that was a very nice payoff, even though it was very easy to slip in these two episodes, but just well executed. And I love how the whole like class divide between the Northwest family, the lower class of like lumberjacks, built them their house, but then they were supposed to share in on the fun, but they kept it all to themselves, like the wealthy class does sometimes. And this episode ranks so highly purely for the fact that we get Old Man McGucket's full backstory. Well, not complete backstory, but we get a huge chunk of it that starts to put all the pieces together, and you feel bad for this man trying to forget and not forgive. Can you feel the tension of growing up and growing apart from your sibling in this episode? Because I surely can. And Mabel's facing the reality of summer coming to an end. School's about to come back in session. High school is coming. And they do the whole thing where high school is not like High School Musical. Wendy tells her to her straight, yeah, high school, definitely a weird period, even though high school's awesome. And here we have Dipper accepting an internship at 12 years old. I'm sorry, what? Okay, anyways. Yeah, so this conflict leads straight into Armageddon, and it's just a very tense episode with sibling conflict.
It's not fair. I just wish summer could last forever.
And we have arrived at the almighty, the ultimo tier, the S tier. And this is where you're going to find out if you put Bill Cipher in it, because Bill Cipher is such a well-made character, so well-liked, it automatically becomes S tier, even though you could talk about the puppet episode, Mabel's storyline, not that well-liked, but Dipper and Bill Cipher. Oh! And here's Dreamscaper's Bill Cipher's introduction. The first time the Pines family, quote-unquote, defeats Bill. And he's just great here. And yeah, that's all I need to say. Probably my favorite moment in this episode. Ooh, Mabel using her grappling hook for the first time since episode 1 is a really nice moment. And Dipper fighting this whole animatronic robot made by McGucket. Those two are really nice moments, but I love Gideon, his like bamboozlement at the fact that Dipper had book 3 and not book 1, because all he knows is that there's 2 books. Why would there be more? I mean, there might be, but probably find book 1 first, but he finds book 3 first. And Dipper and Pines were almost about to head home. And you do actually get to hear Dipper's and Mabel's parents for the only time in the show. The only time that you get to actually hear their voice and opinion and their concern over their children. So I'm glad they put that in there. Puppet boy, he's the one I love. Is that another musical element? And here's a controversial episode, but Bill Cipher is in it enough where he is a main threat, and in the end he loses to the lack of sleep because Dipper is trying to figure out the passcode for Fiddle Ford McGucket's laptop to find out any more information that he could get on the author and the truth of Gravity Falls and all of its mystery. And with the reveal of Not What He Seems, because this is the episode where you see that he has a twin brother. And to be clear, when I watched this episode for the first time, I did not think Stan had a twin brother. That was not the leading theory in my mind. It was definitely the McGucket. But anyways, when this reveal happens, it is so climactic. It is so cathartic. It is just, oh my gosh, giving you the goosebumps. You're fangirling like Dipper. You're on the edge of your seat. And this is just the accumulation of all the time and effort that you put into the show. And it pays off so tremendously well. And this is where I go on a side tangent and talk about One Piece. Because One Piece and Gravity Falls are two similar shows in how the whole dynamic of the plot starts off with episode 1, where in episode 1 you get the reveal that, oh, Stan has this little vending machine that leads to an underground unknown room. And then we have the journals. And in One Piece you have the introduction of devil fruits, which we are finally learning the true nature of recently in this Egghead arc. And then we have what is the One Piece. Like Goldie Roger left something at Laughtail. What did he leave? What is the One Piece? I personally think it's sake, but I could be very wrong, and I don't know what the One Piece is. And there's so many other One Piece mysteries that have yet to be revealed. And Oda, I know, is going to do it masterfully because he is an amazing author and writer. And things like Eam, like who is Eam? What is his power? What is his backstory? What is his motives? What is the Void Century? So many things. Luffy's dream is it to just drink the One Piece, the sake, and share it with a bunch of people and have the biggest party in the world. That's what I personally think it is, but I could be very wrong. So there's many mystery elements that actually could not pay off with One Piece, but I trust in Oda, and I trust that it's been such a long show or manga running, the show in terms of the anime, around 25 years now. It's going to be probably 30 years roughly when it ends, and I am very, very happy with where the One Piece story is at currently. I'm enthralled by it just like I was with Gravity Falls. And One Piece is a little bit more mature. There's definitely some panels where you're like, damn, when it talks about slavery and racial issues and economic divide. and betrayal and all these very impactful themes. It's a little bit more adulty than Gravity Falls, but they both definitely cater to a younger audience as well. And in this episode, we finally get the reveal of Dipper and Mabel's dad. But more than that, we get this heartfelt sibling breakup between Stan and Ford. And Stan just devolving to kind of a scam artist, selling things from state to state, and Ford not getting his scholarship to go to that high prestigious tech school, and Stan and Ford just growing apart over time and growing up. Hopefully Dipper and Mabel don't fall for the same fate. To me, Weirdmageddon is all one piece, so to me, everything belongs in one tier, whether that be all S or A tier. And I think this is as perfect as an ending as you could get it. Ford and the journals get taken away almost immediately, yet Ford knows one option to remove Bill, and that's the memory gun that they try at the very, very end, the last thing that they try. But Bill Cipher is his great self here. We'll meet again sometime, somewhere.
We'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when. Oh, I know we'll meet again some sunny day.
Where am I?
You're in the penthouse suite, kid. The tip of the pyramid. Have a drink. Make yourself comfortable.
And then we have Bill Cipher doing the gum Gatling on the Mystery Shack. And he is trapped inside Gravity Falls. So seeing his reaction to that was amazing. Seeing Dipper have to crawl his way through the apocalyptic world. Then we go to Mabel World. And Mabel has to come out of reality. Come out of the glitter hope of summer, and has to face the very harsh reality. And that's Weirdmageddon now, but it's going to be growing up later on. And growing up is a scary thing. Change is sometimes scary, but sometimes you just have to embrace it and be nostalgic on the past, but also like enjoy the present to its fullest amount. And Weirdmageddon unveils the Zodiac for the first time, the thing that was at the end of the title sequence since episode 1, the very hyped reveal for the cast of characters that fits each and every symbol. But then, because of a Stan and Ford conflict, they don't even use it. But we get mini Pacifica moment, and we get like the whole cast of characters coming back to the Mystery Shack because it's a safe place. So we have like a golf ball, we have a several times character, we have the multi-bear, so many different characters showing up in the shack for one last time, and then they all work together to punch out or kind of rip apart Bill's eye, and he has to regenerate it. So Bill, love him here. Great antagonist, great villain, and he gets put to rest here, even though he was about to kill Dipper or Mabel. Just a couple seconds away from that, which is insane for a kid show. Those are my thoughts on Gravity Falls. That's my tier ranking of the 37 episodes that I watched recently, the 3 that I didn't really want to watch. And overall, Gravity Falls, around 10 years old. Season 1 is 10 years old, more than that now actually for a lot of the episodes in season 1. It holds up really, really well.
Guess I was good for something after all.